Hey, another good evening from yours truly, Marcus Falcon. So I thought I decide. Well, let's put it this way. I was going off on a rant here, happily going off on a rant, having a conversation on Facebook with one of my friends, who's back home actually in the Philippines. We were having this conversation with regards to the video that I created. What was it, last night? Not a fly. I just thought my way into another discussion that got a little bit out of hand. And that's what these conversations are about, all right? I mean, if we as a collective are not scared but worried about what other people are going to say about your thoughts, then it's not a democracy, you know? I mean, as I said, if you're worried about what the other guy is talking about on the other side of the street, ranting about this, exactly what they believe in against what you believe in, and while you're doing the same case too on the other side of the street, well, that's democracy. I'm sorry. If we have to keep our thoughts to ourselves, then what's the point? What's the use? So the discussion that I started the other night was about the importance of the Philippines in the Southeast Asian region in controlling China. Some of my friends back home are not aware of the capabilities of the U.S. military, and they think that all we can do is just bomb the hell out of oblivion out of another enemy or out of another country that is totally against us. Well, it just doesn't work that way. So the question was, what exactly what do we have with the United States Navy, United States Air Force, Army, and Marines to control and contain China? You have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that my friends back home are worried because for the past 30 years, the Chinese military had grown exponentially to a point where their Navy, their Chinese People Liberation's Army Navy, they don't have a separate Navy. Their Navy is under the Army, right? Unlike the United States Armed Forces, where the United States Navy is a separate branch, and the Marines is under the United States Navy. Okay, so people think it's a separate branch. No, but again, another point of discussion sometime in the future. So what exactly do we have? Why are we even worried about escalating? Because we do have the numbers. Or do we have the numbers? Frankly speaking, our Navy has been in such disrepair and disarray for the past 25 years because we had caught ourselves as a nation fighting a land war that we lost. And the resources that were allocated for the past 20 years for the Navy, we tried to make by with what we have. And the Army and the Marines, predominantly the Army, pretty much got the biggest chunk of the budget because they had to fight. And the Marines never get anything because, of course, they're under the Navy, so they have to get under the budget of the Navy. So I pity our brothers there. So that being said, we still have a very powerful Air Force, which no Air Force in the world can match. But let me fix my hair here real quick. There you go. But our Navy has shrunk while the Chinese People's Liberation Army Navy has grown exponentially to a point where they have now outnumbered us numerically. Now, does that mean that we have become incapable of handling their power? No, not necessarily. But quite unfortunately, we have to rely now. That's why that video I created the other day is very, very vital in understanding, for you guys to understand the importance of the Philippines. If you look at the map and you stretch from the northeast section, which will be Japan, all stretching down to Korea, right? Okinawa to Korea to Taiwan, the Philippines. If we control that area, we had just contained China, geographically speaking. That is why it is imperative that on the next conflict, which we assume we are going to get into, because China doesn't want to stop in the Western Pacific, the control of that first chain of island defense is vital. And that's why we are pre-positioning our forces in the Philippines as we speak, training with my Filipino brothers. Now, what does that do with our hardware? Quite unfortunately, we had let the Chinese probably even surpass us in terms of hardware for our Navy, compared to our Navy. Of course, we have 11 carrier battle groups, but only 2 or 3 of them are at any given time are available in Western Pacific. We still have our submarines, which are second to none. But what we worry about are their surface warships, which outnumbers us between a spec of 3 to 4 times as much. Now, why is that? Because our forces are scattered around the world, while theirs are just pinned right there in the South China Sea. Each of those destroyers, let's talk about the numbers. Each of those destroyers are capable of carrying up to 125 missiles each, plus or take a few. Our destroyers are only capable of handling 94. Their destroyers are actually the size of our cruisers. So, in any missile for missile, salvo, or exchange, we are at a loss. Because a carrier battle group can only pre-position up to 450 plus surface-to-air missiles. If ever we even just place our VLS launchers with surface-to-air missiles. But that's not going to happen. So I'm anticipating, I'm just projecting the best possible scenario. You think the Chinese are going to launch 500 missiles at our carrier battle group? They have thousands of these intermediate range ballistic missiles, and the United States have 0. Because we have to abide by the intermediate range ballistic missile regulations between the Russians and us. China is not a participant of that. So they have thousands. And all we can do is hit a bullet with a bullet. So kind of pathetic. So that's where my fears are. If we go into a missile exchange with China, we are going to lose. That's why we are reliant on those islands to assist us, on those forces in Japan and South Korea, which has top of the line, right, naval assets. The top 3 naval forces in Asia, the United States Navy is not even in that category, right? The top destroyers, surface warships in Asia are China, South Korea, and Japan. We are 4th. So we are not only lacking numerical superiority, we are also lacking in quality superiority. My poor Navy. That's where we're at right now. We are also numerically inferior. We still have different categories, different departments wherein we are top-notch. I think we are the only ones that are capable of communicating with each hardware and allowing another asset to target and engage another vessel, right? I do believe the Chinese does not have that capability, but what do I know? I'm just a regular sailor in the United States Navy, worked in engineering and nothing else. We're talking about engineering, and we can deal about that. You're going to have to deal with the fire control techs or the gunner's mates in the Navy, but I doubt that if any of them ever have a YouTube channel that I do. So let's discuss this here, right? So geopolitically, we are there. We can contain China. It's like how we contained Russia during the Cold War. We surrounded them with everything we have and our allies have. They lost without firing a shot. right? And that's why, yes, another part of my discussion was with other folks on why we should supply Ukraine. You know what? If it's only costing us 3% of our defense budget for every year, with no U.S. casualties, given what they have, given what they want, let's just take Russia out of the map. But that's another video worth doing, right? So how do we contain China? We contain them by containing them and not letting them out of the South China Sea. Then from there we can push them back. It's already too late. The South China Sea is already littered with man-made islands. They're already stealing our resource, when I mean ours, the Philippine resources back home. They're already dredging up those corals, taking up all the fish. It's too late. Too late. Can't do nothing about it. You know, a numerically inferior Philippine Navy just is incapable of handling these vicious commercial attacks by the Chinese. I'm sorry. And right now is just the time to limit it. Were we too late into administering some aid? Probably. In the last 20 years, we were hindered. We were hampered. We had a war that we had to fight in 2 different countries. The U.S. just isn't that powerful anymore. We can go and nuke. What? But we're going to nuke China? Right? It's just stupidly, those thoughts are just plain stupid, you know, dumbfounding. You think you can, you get all these inputs now from all sorts of YouTubers preparing for nuclear. What? What the hell are you talking about? You really want to live in a nuclear war? Did you guys learn anything from the 50s, 60s, 70s? You just slap them around, silly. Jesus Christ. But anyway, you see, now we're opening up a whole can of whoop-ass here just to talk about, you know. But anyway, so and that's why, that's the way that we are capable. We are still capable of containing China. We just got to do it with our allies. And we just have to do it as a combined arms effort with the Army, Marines, Navy, and the Air Force. We control those islands. We can bottleneck them right there and bring them down within the range of our heavy firepower of weapons, from Tomahawks to ATACMS to HIMARS. In between islands, we can control them. And long-range bombers, the B-1s are still capable. Now the 15EXs are coming into play with the capability to bring the same amount of payloads, half the amount of payloads that a B-1 bomber can, but with the distance and the capability and the agility of an F-15E. JDAMs, JASSMs, long-range anti-ship missiles, bring them all into play. That will relieve the burden on our aircraft carrier battle groups. We gotta rearm our guided missile, our Arleigh Burkes. And I don't have a solution for our Ticonderoga class cruisers because they're old. Their systems are old. Is it worth spending $1 billion on a platform so that we could maintain 125 VLS launchers out of the sea? I don't know. Again, that's probably another point of another discussion that's waiting to happen. So right then and there, again, this is a generic trend. This is something that's just coming out of my mind. I don't have a script here. I don't have anything listed. I don't have anything ready to say. It's just something that's in my mind for the past so many years. So let's start this discussion. I've had some guys send me some Facebook notes. I said, you know, send it to my YouTube channel, man. Let's have some discussion while I drink some coffee here or salabat, you know, some San Miguel while I'm getting teased by my friends back home, you know. So anyway, to the men and women out there, our sons and daughters and brothers, sisters, you know, whether you're deployed or not, we care for you guys, all right? I've done that time. I've done so many deployments, and those mini deployments that only last a few weeks, a few months, to those mega deployments that are 6 to 10 months long. And now the carrier battle groups are doing minimum of 10-month deployments. Anyway, we love you guys. You guys take care. If you guys got any questions, and just send me a comment. And lastly, anybody that's PCSing to the Northwest or leaving the Northwest for someplace else, let me know. I can help you guys, all right? Yeah, my job is to make sure that you guys have been helped. So you guys need a place to stay, a home to buy, a house to sell, let me know. You guys take care, enjoy the evening, and hope to chat with you guys soon again. All right, post.